You're listening to Served Up, a podcast that features inspiring beverage professionals and topic experts that share their passions through meaningful conversations. I'm your host, Bridget Albert, also known as a Market Fresh Mixologist, an industry mentor with decades of experience. Grab a cocktail and sit back. Let's learn how we can make a positive impact in our industry. Hey y'all, it's Bridget here. I had the chance to sit down with Julieann Fernandez, the master blender at CVH, one of the leading names in the world of Scotch whiskey. With her extensive expertise in whiskey blending, she has crafted some of the finest and most unique expressions that highlight both tradition and innovation in the Scotch whiskey world. In our interview, we explored her journey to become a master blender, her approach to creating the perfect blend, and how she balances the legacy of Scotch with the demands of the modern whiskey enthusiasts, all the while being an amazing mom and wife. So sit back, relax, grab yourself your favorite Scotch whiskey cocktail, and enjoy the show. Julieann, welcome to Served Up. It is just a pleasure to have you on the show today.
Thank you. No, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure for me to be here and be on the podcast.
Wonderful. Could you tell our listeners a bit about yourself? Where are you from? What was it like growing up? And what led you into beverage?
Absolutely. So I'm Julieann Fernandez. I'm the master blender for CVH Spirits. You can probably hear from the accent, good old Scottish accent. So I'm from just outside Glasgow on the west coast of Scotland. So yeah, growing up was good. It was cold. We don't get the nicest weather in Scotland, but it's good whiskey making weather. And yeah, I guess growing up was great. It was great fun. At school, I probably excelled in sciences and things like that, but I didn't really have a clear idea of what I wanted to do. And then went to university and studied forensic science. I ended up doing a placement year, and the placement year just so happened to be in the whiskey industry. That wasn't the plan. I had applied for several things like oil and gas. Lots of different things just to gain a little bit of experience before finishing university. And it just so happened that my placement was in the whiskey industry, and yeah, the journey sort of started there.
Well, I think that that's really fascinating. So you set out, you were studying forensic science, correct?
Right,
So to make that transition into whiskey, is that a big leap?
It's quite a big leap, yeah. So I suppose the fundamentals of whiskey and a lot of what I was doing was more on the laboratory kind of side of it. So that analytical chemistry, analysing the spirit, doing things like that, and then making the transition into blending. Obviously, it was difficult, but blending for me is a kind of mixture of science and art. So I had the science background there, and then it's just a little bit of creativity on top of that and winging it a little bit and just hope for the best at times. And yeah, it's great.
Amazing. I know that, first of all, like female whiskey blenders, there's not a whole lot in the industry. Blenders actually that are female for any spirit. We're just not present, right? The females. But then to be the youngest female first time, blender in the history of whiskey is no small thing. So let's talk about when you transitioned out of college, out of school, into your first gig.
My first gig, I went back into the whiskey industry, and we have a company over here called the Scotch Whisky Research Institute, who are fantastic, and they do a phenomenal amount of research into Scotch whisky, whether that's like casks and maturation or like sensory and organoleptic. So I went and I worked there, and again, it was more that sort of laboratory side of things. And it was great. I really, really enjoyed it. The commute was a little bit too much for me. So Glasgow, it was Edinburgh. And that was the only reason that it didn't really work out. So from there, I transitioned back into working still in the laboratory side of things, but based in distilleries. So I was getting more of that kind of like hands-on experience of seeing the whiskey making process. And I think it was sort of seeing the process firsthand, although I wasn't involved in making it. I was just so interested in it. And I was given great opportunities to visit grain distilleries, malt distilleries, ones in Speyside, sort of all over Scotland, and see that process and the differences. And it was there that I suppose I realised I had a passion for it and I was really intrigued by it.
Can we talk about, is there science involved for our listeners to understand? Is there science involved in blending whiskey?
There definitely is science. So it's kind of understanding the different flavours, different kind of congeners, what we're looking for, and the makeup of our whiskey. So there definitely is science involved. But yeah, the rest of it's a little bit like a dark art. It's a little bit of magic, a little bit of experimentation and trial and error. But there's definitely a base of that sort of scientific approach that goes into it as well.
What was going through your mind the first time that you were challenged to blend a whiskey?
What the hell have I done? Yeah, it can be daunting. I was so used to kind of being in the background and being behind the scenes, and then all of a sudden I was kind of thrust to the front of it, and it all just happened so quickly. And as you said, being a female in the industry, it is getting more common, and there's obviously some areas of the business where it is more common, whether that's in sort of like marketing roles and things like that. For me, all the roles that I had done, they'd sort of been behind the scenes, or some of them would be distillery based. And I was so used to working with all males. And, for me, they honestly were the best mentors that I had. Every job that I had and every individual that I worked with, both male and female, they were so supportive and nurturing. And yeah, it's without meeting all these really different people that sort of pushed me to get to where I am. And I think that it's like everything. We'll hear about the whiskey industry and how there's females aren't really represented, or some females find it quite daunting to get into the whiskey industry, which I do totally understand when something's sort of male dominated. But I can honestly say, hand on heart, the males that I have worked with and everybody in the whiskey industry they've been so supportive. And if it wasn't, like I say, for them coaching me and training me, I would never have got to being a master blender at such a young age. So it was daunting, but I had so many people believing in me, saying to me, you can do it, like, absolutely, you've got this. And I think that's what gave me the confidence to be like, do you know what, I can do this.
Yeah, absolutely. What age were you when you became a master blender?
I was just 27 when I became master blender. Yeah, I know.
Just so 27, young. Folks. Just 27. Yeah. Oh my God, girlfriend. Yeah, this is amazing.
I remember when I had my first interview for the job when I was heavily pregnant with my first son.
Wow.
And then, literally weeks before I gave birth. And then obviously I finished up for maternity leave, had my son, and I think he was about 10 days old, and it was second stage interviews, and I was like, I need to do this because it's what I want. And I'm a very big believer in having both, having a family, having a career, balance and all of it. And I wanted to kind of make that point and get back into it. So yeah, I went and did the second stage interview and I was offered the job, and it's been a whirlwind since then.
My gosh. And so you were pregnant at the time. You were at the end of your pregnancy, it sounds like.
Right at the end,
and they took such a chance on you, just being so young. You came in with great talent and know-how, and that trust that they put in you is marvelous. American companies, I hope that you're listening and, take notice, because a lot of times I feel like as females, especially when we are pregnant, we don't always go for the careers, right? We don't always go for what we want. So
absolutely,
you did it, and you did it in a big way. I'm so proud of you.
Oh, thank you. No, 100%. that's what I wanted to do. And I don't feel that you should need to sacrifice your career for a family or vice versa. I totally appreciate that. One of the main reasons I've been able to do both is because of the support network I've got. So obviously I've got my husband, I've got my parents who massively help in terms of like childcare and things like that. So I have been very, very fortunate that I've not had to pick one or the other. And don't get me wrong, it's had its challenges. It's not easy. There's only a year between my two sons, so I had them quite close together. So yeah, it's been absolutely wild at times, but it's absolutely worth it. And I think now I'm sort of through the hardest part. My oldest son, he just turned 5 a few weeks ago, actually. So he's started school now, and this is when it starts to get that little bit easier. So I think at the time you just think, what have I got myself in for? Like, how is this all going to play out? But honestly, just stick with it, and it does.
Yeah, absolutely. Who are some of your mentors early on?
So again, really sort of mixed mentors. So from the company that obviously we're CVH Spirits, we were previously Distill. So you mentioned about how kind of taking a chance on me. My previous boss, Alan Wright, it was him who actually gave me the job as master blender. And you're right, he absolutely did take a chance. But I think partially one of the reasons for that was probably because my biggest mentor that I've worked with for many years now is a gentleman called Stephen Woodcock. He's still in the whiskey industry. He works for another company. And he honestly is just the best person that I have ever worked with. He's kind, he's caring, he's funny, extremely talented. So he was the master distiller when I was the master blender. And it was him that gave me the confidence to go for this. So as much as I think Alan saw something special and it's why he offered me the job, I think Stephen was also there kind of behind the scenes being like, I can see something special in her, like, please give her this chance. So yeah, I owe a lot of what I've got to today to a gentleman called Stephen Woodcock, who I'll be forever grateful to and will be a lifelong friend for that reason. But yeah, I've been fortunate that I've worked with so many individuals. Just when I was in the States last year, Rachel Barry was over at the same time. And like you say, not too many females. And it was lovely being able to speak to Rachel about that balance of family and career and how obviously our jobs are very similar. We travel a lot. And it's inspiring when you see people like Rachel who have been doing this for years and how massively successful she is. So yeah, there's so many people that I look to that really do inspire me.
Yeah, absolutely. You're just in such a unique space. And really for our listeners, can you take us through a day in the life of a whiskey blender?
Yeah, so do you know, that's what I think I love most about my job role is that there's no 2 days the same. So from one day to the other, my days are never really planned out. I might have something planned and then something changes. So it can be anything from the kind of more monotonous side of it. So it's your admin of cask purchases, inventory management, like sort of laying down stock, making sure we've got all the stock we need for all of our core products, making sure that we've got stock laid down for future limited editions. It gets a little bit more fun when you're purchasing casks for limited editions. So that might be tequila barrels or tawny port or whatever it may be, and thinking, oh, what can I do with that? So that's sort of one side of the job. You've then got the new make spirit, which goes into these casks. So assessing the new make spirit from each of our distilleries to make sure that it's in spec, it's the right quality that we're looking for, and grading that. Working with our distillery managers if there are any issues and just making sure we keep that quality and character consistent. Sometimes it's doing master classes. So, and that can be anywhere. That can be a sort of local whiskey night at a venue in Glasgow that's just up the road, or it can be Whiskey Live in Shanghai, China. So it's kind of two extremes. Yeah, there's so many things that I'm involved in that I do. It could be coming to the States, talking to customers, consumers, hosting classes, whatever it may be. It's so varied, and that's just what I love about it.
What has been a moment in your career when you've blended a whiskey and you're just like, holy shit, this is going to be it. This is going to be so delicious. I'm so excited about it. I can't wait for the consumer to taste it.
There's probably 2 points. So one, we do Deanston Distillery, which I look after as well in the blending side of things. We do an expression there every year, and it's called Deanston Chronicles. And it's where we take sort of 4 whiskies from 4 different decades. So you're looking at whiskies from like the 70s, 80s, 90s and noughties. And it will be, I purposely make sure I've got whiskies in really random cask types. So it might be a tequila barrel with a canasta butt and a beer stout hogshead and something else. And it's basically this clash of flavours that really shouldn't work, but they do. So definitely Chronicles have been some of the best pieces of work that I've done, because it's where you just get to have that sort of free reign, that your creative flair just goes wild and you get to do things like that. So that's definitely one. And the other one is Fèis. So over on Islay, we have the Fèis, the whiskey festival every year. And at Bunnahabhain, we have our open day and people come over and we launch limited editions there. And that's where, again, I get to be really experimental. And getting to Bunnahabhain Distillery it's like a pilgrimage. So it's the most northerly distillery on Islay. You can fly from Glasgow. It's a tiny little plane, and then you're sort of 30, 40 minutes from the airport down this single track road to Bunnahabhain. So yeah, it's a journey to get there. And the people that make that journey to get to Bunnahabhain, it's because they're such loyal fans. They love it. So when I do the expressions for Fèis, it always excites me because I put so much work into it and I try different things. So we do a peated spirit at Bunnahabhain called Monya, and I had done Bunnahabhain Monya finished in Tokai casks, and that's quite unusual. Tokai casks haven't been used very often in the whisky industry. And I knew that so we have an appreciation society that come, for example, and because these guys know Bunnahabhain inside out, they feel like they obviously know me inside out as well. So they're not shy. So they taste these whiskies and see hearing their feedback, because you know it can go one of 2 ways. They can either say, this is great, I love it. Or they can be like, what the hell is this? Like, you have massively like made an arse of this. So like, what are you doing? When I make these whiskies that they love and they appreciate and they fall in love with as much as what I have, that's really, really special to me. And I'm like, yeah, I've done it. If these guys like it, then I've done a good job.
Yeah, what a cool experience too, to see you literally are at this festival. You get to see the looks on people's faces and have that one-on-one moment, right? With people.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's great to see because it's nerve-wracking. Like when I host the masterclasses at Fèis and we do one every the morning of our Bunnahabhain day, there's 100 people in this big room that we call the Filling Store. It's Andrew Brown, who's a distillery manager at Bunnahabhain, Andrew Brown and myself, and we host this huge masterclass for 100 people. And it's the first time a lot of them have tasted these Fèis expressions. And sometimes you're scared looking around this room in case people are like, oh my goodness, like, no, you've not done a good job with that. So it's nerve-wracking, but at the same time, it's great. It's absolutely brilliant.
So, I mean, when you think about it, blending whiskey for you must be very personal.
Absolutely. And I think as well, we talked about mentors and things like that. Not just about mentors, it's about having peers that you know and you trust, because like you say, it's so personal, and everybody's taste perception is very, very different. And for me, whiskey is about creating something that lots of people can enjoy. And depending on if I've had a bad night with the boys and I'm in work half asleep, I'm in a completely different frame of mind as what I would be if it's a bright sunny day and everything's going well. So I'm very, very aware of that as well. And I know that I can put a sort of personal spin on things that I'm creating. So Andrew Brown, who I mentioned, he's been working at Bunnahabhain Distillery for over 35 years. Nobody knows Bunnahabhain better than Andrew Brown. And he's my kind of, especially for Bunnahabhain, he's my sort of right-hand man. So anything that I do with Bunnahabhain, I like to send samples over to Andrew, get his opinion, get his input. And yeah, it's lovely having that there as well. Just somebody that I can lean on when I need it, so that it's not just about me. He also gets that little bit of input when it's needed.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of having that second set of eyes maybe gives you a little bit of confidence and kind of validate your work. And I think we all need that, no matter what gig you have, no matter what job you have. We all need to be validated that our work is good. And I think that's great. You have somebody to kind of be that second set of eyes, especially somebody that's been in the, did you say 30, how many years?
35 years just at Bunnahabhain alone. Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah, absolutely wild. Yeah, he knows there's nothing that man doesn't know about Bunnahabhain Distillery. And that's one of the reasons that Bunnahabhain Spirit is so good. He's been there 35 years. He's been in charge for the last, I don't know how many, but he keeps that distillery running so well. The quality, the consistency, just everything. And yeah, like you say, I don't think it matters what stage you get to in your career. For me, I always go back to my roots and where I came from. And I totally realise how privileged I am to be in this position. So I would never want to be arrogant and big-headed and think, no, it's only me that needs to look at the liquid. If I sign it off, it's right. I'm the master blender and what I say goes. That absolutely isn't me. Like, there's not a slight, tiny bit of me that's a diva, not any bit of me. And sometimes you do just need that validation. You need somebody to say, yeah, you're doing a good job. And you need that somebody there who's not afraid to challenge you as well, which I think some people need. So Andrew's not afraid to say to me, no, that doesn't work, or no, I don't think you're doing the right thing here. And sometimes that's nice. Like, you can't just get away with doing whatever you want. There's got to be boundaries. Yeah, I think it's nice that people around me feel that they can say that to me and give me their opinion. I think it's really important.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think because of that, like, you will never be bored in your career if you're continually, challenged, and you have that group of people that you can trust and have those conversations with, right? Then you're always making yourself better along your journey.
Absolutely. Like, there's so many people, as much as I'm obviously master blender, for me, I've still got so much learning to do. Every day on my job, I learn something new, whether that we change something and something's changed in the distillery, which isn't anything to do with me, but I ask the questions and I say, well, what's the impact that change going to make? And what does that mean for us? And I learn about all the sort of intricacies of actually whiskey making in the distillery as well, whether it's new cask types that are sort of up and coming, new trends. There's so many people in this industry who are amazing, like, right along to bartenders, for example. I make whiskey and they turn them into these amazing perfect serves or cocktails, and that, it blows my mind how talented these people are. So there's still millions for me to learn, and for me, that's another part of the job that I love, that I just continue to learn and I'm continually challenged.
Can you paint the picture of the Scottish culture? Scotland has such a rich culture, and it really does reflect in the individual and in the spirits that you create as well. And for the listeners that haven't had the opportunity to visit Scotland, and maybe they're just curious and would love to take that trip, can you tell us a bit about what to expect?
Honestly, Scotland is one of the most beautiful places that you can imagine. The scenery, the people, everything it's just absolutely beautiful. Unfortunately, we don't always get the weather, but when we do get the weather, there's parts of Scotland that you just have to visit. So I look after Tobermory Distillery, which is over on the Isle of Mull. And on the Isle of Mull, there's some beautiful beaches. There's Calgary Bay, and it's beautiful golden sand and crystal clear water. And you could honestly think you're in the Bahamas or something, but you're in this beautiful little island in Scotland. Tobermory Distillery it's so tiny, it's so picture perfect. So no matter where you go in Scotland, there's always something to do or something to see that's very, very traditional. So you go to an island, whether that's obviously Tobermory, you've got Islay, where we've got Bunnahabhain Distillery. You can do all of the distilleries over on Islay. Again, the local people on Islay, many of them have been born and brought up in Islay. They've stayed there all their lives. They love their island. And anybody that you meet on Islay, they're so friendly and they want to tell you all about the sort of history and heritage of the island. And yeah, there's just so much. There's so much that we're proud of. Obviously, we've got our tartans. You'll see plenty of people in kilts. We've got Highland cows. Even there's some distillery that have Highland cows at the distillery. There's our wonderful shortbread. There's, you name it, Scotland has it. And we honestly are the most welcoming, warm people, that we just love people visiting our country. We're all so proud to be Scottish. We're so proud of our history, our heritage. And yeah, it's an absolute must. Like, you absolutely do have to come and see it. Even in the rain, Scotland is beautiful.
Yeah, I'm lucky. I've been several times. And my husband and I, we're hoping not this year, but next year. We've been having to put it off for different reasons, is to do the Highland Trail. So the 100-mile walk before we get any older, and we can't do it anymore because of our knees or our feet or whatever. But that is on our list of things to do. Have you done it?
No, I haven't. Only because I'm extremely unfit and would probably have a heart attack if I attempted it. So no, I haven't done it.
Come on, don't tell me that, because I'm not all that fit myself, but I heard that it's very doable. Can you tell the folks that are listening what it is, what I'm talking about?
There's two different walks. Were you talking about, there's the West Highland Way. Is that the one that you're doing? Yes. So the West Highland Way is beautiful. My brother actually did it last year. And do you know what's lovely? So my brother Andrew, he did it with a group of friends. And I think this says a lot about Scotland. He was saying that on these hikes, so you're starting early in the day and you're finishing late at night. Most people do it over sort of 4 or 5 days. Obviously, experienced hikers will do that in less. But he was saying that you're sort of trekking over these beautiful mountains in Scotland. And he said the number of lone females doing it on their own, they're camping, they're not staying in hotels, they're just staying out in the wild. And for me, that says so much about Scotland, is how safe that was for these lone females to be doing that. But yeah, it's basically a walk from one end of Scotland to the other, where you pass the most beautiful scenery. It's a sort of guided trail. It's not a path by any means. You're very much sort of off the beaten track, but it's a walk that everybody should do. And you're right, like, it's embarrassing being Scottish and not having done it. But the West Highland Way, it's absolutely beautiful.
Well, so I'm going to put out the invitation. If you would like to join my husband and I, and your husband, you can join us on the walk when we decide to do it. I'll at least tell you when I'm there. How's that?
Yes, that would be lovely. And then we can celebrate. We can celebrate with a jam at the end of it at one of our distilleries.
Absolutely. Yes. I'm excited. I think that, Scotland has so much to offer, even beyond the whiskey itself, not just the cuisine and just the beauty of it all. There's so much nature, right? And I believe that as a blender, at least for someone who tastes and who judges many of the spirit competitions, not just here in America, but worldwide, is that when I'm tasting a blended whiskey, I really look to see if that blender has captured that essence of Scotland in that spirit, right? Because so much depends on the terroir, so much depends on the water, so much depends on the nature that surrounds the distillery itself, and really to get not only the spirit captured in the bottle, but the spirit of the people and the culture. No pressure.
Absolutely. No, absolutely.
Pressure.
I couldn't agree more. All the three of our distilleries are so different. So Deanston was an old cotton mill. It's the newest of our distilleries. So as a distillery, only started producing whiskey in 1966. And with it being the old cotton mill, it really was the kind of hub of the village, of the community. When it was the cotton mill, it employed over 1,500 people. And it was all about community spirit. They were paid in their own coin, their own currency, called the Deanstonian. So for me, Deanston is all about the heart of the community spirit, and sort of bringing people together. And it's really important that that is reflected in the expressions that I create when I'm working with Deanston. You've then got Tobermory, as I mentioned, it's over in the Isle of Mull. You might have heard of it, maybe not, but we had a children's programme in Scotland called Bunnahabhain, and it was set over in the Isle of Mull, and it featured all these coloured houses. And Bunnahabhain was set in Tobermory, where our distillery is, and it's one of the most unique places you can visit because it's all these rows of beautifully multicoloured houses. There's pink, blues, reds, you name it. Somebody's painted their house that colour. So a lot of what I do with sort of Tobermory and Ledaig, the two spirits that we produce at that distillery, are all about bringing that colourful surroundings into the whiskey. So making the whiskey colourful in a way and bright and vibrant, a bit like what Tobermory is. And then Bunnahabhain, exactly as you say, that terroir. Islay is typically known for its peated distilleries. Bunnahabhain, we produce predominantly unpeated whiskey at Bunnahabhain. So it's all about that terroir of Bunnahabhain and how we do it differently and how we pipe our water underground so that it's not picking up any of that peaty influence when the water flows over the peat beds. We're underground instead. So it's about celebrating the unpeated spirit of Bunnahabhain. And because it's so close to the sea, it's about maturing as many casks as we can on the island and getting that salty sea spray. So yeah, for me, it's absolutely the most important part is staying true to that distillery, true to the sort of history and the heritage and the community that that distillery's in.
Yeah, and you're doing it. I mean, you're out there doing it. And, can we talk about some of the brands? You talked very briefly about some of the expressions that you're most proud of. Can you kind of expand on that and kind of those must tries? What are a few of the brands that you are currently working on or that are available now that people absolutely need to taste?
So for me, there's a whiskey for everybody. And that's what I think is really important. And we're kind of breaking down barriers now. But for so many years, there was always that sort of snobbery around whiskies and how they had to be an age statement. And it was all about the number on the bottle. And for me, age-stated whiskies, they're absolutely fantastic. There's no doubt about that. But there's other whiskies that are also as phenomenal. So for me, I love a non-age statement whiskey because it's much more approachable, much more affordable. Let's be honest, with the cost of living and everything else, we've not all got lots of spare cash to be out buying expensive bottles. So for me, a non-age statement is a fantastic way into whiskey. And it's a good way to get into whiskey if you're coming from something like bourbon and you're kind of not sure where to start. So for me, Deanston Virgin Oak is an absolute must try. Deanston Virgin Oaks are non-age statement. It's Deanston that's been matured in bourbon barrels and then finished in Virgin Oak barrels just to kind of round it off, give it a little bit of the wood spice. So for me, that's an absolute must try. It's kind of quintessentially Deanston. You then have our 12 and our 18-year-old if you want to kind of trade up. But it's an excellent starting point for me. It's light, it's fresh. You can enjoy it in so many different ways as well. And that for me is a huge thing. There is no right or wrong way to drink whiskey. If you want to mix it, have it in a cocktail, have it as a long drink, whatever you want to do, you do it. You've spent your money to buy this, so you enjoy it however you like. And for me, Deanston's got the flexibility and the adaptability to drink it in several different ways. So that's an absolute must try. And then also staying core, Bunnahabhain 12. Bunnahabhain, as I said, we're unpeated. So the majority of the spirit that we produce at Bunnahabhain is our unpeated spirit. And we fill most of it into Oloroso sherry casks. Bunnahabhain 12 is a mixture of Bunnahabhain that's been fully matured in first fill Oloroso, second fill Oloroso, and some bourbon in there as well. So it's got those beautiful notes of dried fruits, golden raisins. It's got beautiful spice in there. There's cinnamon and cloves. And it's such a warming, lovely dram. As I mentioned, Scotland doesn't get the nicest weather. We get cold winters, just like many parts of the US does. So for me, sitting round like this open fireplace with a dram of Bunnahabhain 12. There's honestly nothing better in the world. And because we keep so many of the casks on the island, you get that beautiful, salty sea air that comes through at the back. It lingers on the finish. And it honestly, I just feel if you close your eyes and you've seen a photo of Bunnahabhain, it just transports you there by drinking that dram. It's beautiful and it's an absolute must try.
Oh, now I'm thirsty. It is 10:15 in the morning where I live in Illinois, and you have me thirsty for that. Thank you. No, you did a beautiful job of describing whiskey. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. I want to shift gears before we close because you and I have something in common. We're both mothers and we're both in the spirits industry. As your sons get older, how will you be teaching them what mom does? Because I know I've had those moments with our daughter, Paige, who is now 21 years old. I mean, since she was born, right? I was in the industry. I've been in the industry for 30 years. I've always had those honest conversations with her, especially like as a teenager, let's say, when all of a sudden spirits are, they become very curious about what's in that cabinet that mom or dad have. So what do you hope for your children as they are alongside of you throughout your journey, throughout your career?
As you said, my boys have absolutely been alongside me through this full journey. And they're now getting to an age where they're starting to understand a little bit more. Not obviously what I do, but mummy travels a lot. So sometimes mummy's in America or mummy's in China, and they know that it's because of whiskey. They obviously don't have a clue what whiskey is. But part of my job as well is, as I mentioned, purchasing casks. So I do a couple of trips a year, usually over to Jerez in Spain, go to the Sherry Triangle, visit the bodegas and purchase casks there. My surname's Fernandez, so my father was Spanish. So we've got that kind of Spanish connection there as well. And I still have family over in Spain who we go and visit. So the last time I was over in Jerez, they actually invited my family along to come to the bodegas as well. So my mum and my two sons, they were 3 and 4 at the time, they came along to the bodegas. They were alongside us. They saw the cooperages where the casks were getting made. They were nosing the sherry barrels as I was nosing them. And the Spanish are they're such beautiful people as well. They are so big on families. They love families. They love children. And they honestly made myself and my family so welcome. They hosted us. They took us for meals. And it was so special for me to have my sons by my side while I was doing that sort of special part of my job. So I will absolutely actively encourage them to explore that. So as they get older and they can go on trips, I want to do trips with them, whether that's going to the States and tasting different bourbons, whether it's going to Spain and revisiting different sherries, whatever they want to do, I want to do it with them. And I always want them to be able to talk to me. I think if we're open and honest about drinks and spirits and things like that, they're not going to do it behind my back if they know that they can talk to me. And yeah, I'm just all about being upfront about things and making it fun. For as long as I can, I'll have my two boys by my side on as many trips as I can so that they can hopefully fall in love with whiskey as much as what I have.
You're doing so many things right as a mom. You really are.
That's lovely to hear.
You really are. I think it's really important as moms, especially moms that are in the spirit industry, to kind of demystify spirits a bit, but still to be able to celebrate them. So that means when they do go off to university, like my daughter's in college right now in her junior year, I don't worry about her raging or passing out drunk somewhere because it's so like, who cares for her? Like, it's so demystified. Like, it's just been part of her everyday life since she was born. She's been around it. Like you say, she's been to distilleries, right? She's been part of the community since day one. And I think that that's important, especially for us moms, to not make what we do like so hands off. And I think when you can be a little bit opposite of that, then you're opening the mind and the curiosity and all that's good in your kids. So you're doing so many things that are so good. I think it's wonderful.
Yeah, for me, absolutely. It's important that they're part of this, and that they're not afraid to ask questions. And they'll obviously, after COVID, it kind of changed the way that things work. So there'll be times where I'm maybe in the house doing tasting notes rather than being in the lab, just depends on what I've got going on. And they'll see me with all the glasses and writing stuff down. And like I said, they don't understand it. They're only 5 and just about to turn 4. So they don't know what it is, but they see me nosing it and they want to nose it as well. They're curious. And I've even noticed little things like now if I go to the shops and I buy a candle for the house or something, and the first thing they want to do is smell it. And they'll say, oh, like that smells like birthday cake, or that smells like, and they're starting to kind of make those connections. And that's because obviously they're so used to seeing me nosing everything and smelling everything and describing it. And yeah, it's nice to see them doing that. And obviously it makes you curious. You think, gosh, you're so young just now, but maybe you will follow in my footsteps and go into whiskey. Maybe you won't, but they'll always know that option is there. And anything I can show them, anything that I can teach them, I will absolutely be on hand to do it. And I just obviously want them to have an amazing life full of opportunities. And that's why I work, to give them these opportunities. And they know that. So yeah, it goes hand in hand.
It does go hand in hand. And they're going to grow up with great respect for not only for whiskey, but for their mother, because you're making them part of that world in a small way, just to be able to see what mom does, It's amazing. It's just great. I'm so happy to have met you today.
And I'm really looking forward to you coming to Scotland. You definitely need to get in touch if you've got time. You won't be far from Deanston Distillery when you're doing the West Highland Way. So we'll need to try and get you there. And the other one from Scotland that you absolutely need to tick off is the North Coast 500. So it's a 516-mile scenic route around the north coast of Scotland. So typically you're meant to start at Inverness Castle and almost do a loop and finish at Inverness Castle, but there's obviously other ways that you can do it. The North Highlands of Scotland, absolutely beautiful, and it's another one that you have to put on your bucket list and try and do one day.
Yeah, thank you for that. We're just trying to plan around those damn midgies.
Oh my goodness, I know.
Or we would go this spring, but it's like you really need to take the time to plan it because you don't want to be there when those little bugs are so active.
Oh, I know. But any hints, tips, anything you need, just reach out to me and it'll be a pleasure to see you here.
Yeah, thank you. Well, with that said, I want to wish you some great health and a lot of peace. And thank you so much for coming on Served Up. I do hope that you'll come back and check in and let our listeners know what you're up to.
Of course, no, absolutely. Anytime. I'll be more than happy to come back. Even if your listeners have any questions at all, absolutely pass them on to yourself. Yeah, I'm always here to help, always here to chat. And I'll hopefully be in the States next year. So we've obviously got Kyle behind the scenes here. I've had a trip last year where I spent a week with Kyle, and honestly, it was just fantastic. He's such a wonderful person. He spoke very, very highly of yourself. He was so excited to get us on this podcast together. And it's been great. And I really do hope if I don't see you in Scotland, I'll see you in the States. So hopefully it's plenty of trips to come next year.
Absolutely. Well, I think we've made a lifelong connection. I can feel it. Oh, now you're stuck with me. So thank you so much. Thank you again. And, hopefully I'll be seeing you soon. Cheers to you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening. Served Up is brought to you by Southern Glazers Wine and Spirits. Produced by Zunu.online. Music by We Killed the Lion can be found on Spotify. Make sure to subscribe to be notified of our future Served Up episodes. Cheers.